What's up, guys? Another week for
Wait.
the, yep.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. What's up, guys? It's time for another week of the Ultra Mega Death Ray Roundtable. I'm Dave, along with my buddies Ross
Hello.
and Quan.
Good morning.
And we got a few topics here, starting off with the huge Sony news with the Vita TV, as well as other things, but the Vita TV is definitely the huge headline with this. Basically, this is like a small device that's going to be very similar in ways to like the Apple TV, but it will allow you to to play like handheld games like like PSP and like Vita games. And it's going to like support. It's also going to like support like the PlayStation 4 later on down the road for remote play, which is probably like the most interesting aspect of it, simply because you'll basically be able to play PlayStation 4 games without needing the PlayStation 4 right there with you, just using like the controller and the Vita TV. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the Vita TV? Is this something you think you would want to pick up?
Yeah, it's actually made me a lot more interested in the Vita. It's kind of fun. We've had two handheld stories in a row across weeks. This one's interesting simply because of the expansion. This should have been with the Vita system to begin with. This shouldn't have been something new. Like it should have already been there. But the fact that it's there now makes it even more interesting, which had made me very interested in a Vita. And not just for the software or current games or anything, but for what the future holds and the homebrew aspect of it, to see what can be done with that. That's also very interesting.
Yeah. I think Vita TV pretty much was like the most obvious progression of what was going to happen with the Vita in any ways, them doing different things with it. Because when the Vita first came out, that was my first question is, what can it do besides play video games? Because I'm sure it's going to do way more than that.
It is interesting, like how you say, like as far as like doing like way more of the games, since like a lot more companies now are trying to make like their game consoles, like the actual home consoles, do like a lot more than like than playing games, like being more like entertainment hubs. But like now, Sony seems to be trying to do that same thing as far as interconnecting that with like their handheld market as well.
We haven't seen it yet. We've seen it tried many times, many ways, that kind of thing. But one thing that hasn't been explored yet: how does this open up the Vita to multiplayer with multiple Vitas? If we all remember the original Game Boy Advance cable, that was ridiculous. That we, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you wanted to play somebody else, you had to have cable. Well, you could do it up to 4 people, depending on the game, but there was only a few games that you could do that with.
Because I know with the 2000 version of the PSP, with the ad hoc system, you could play people, from a different country.
Yeah.
So just to say that with PS4, they won't have something implemented for
I'm
multiplayer
sure
they've thought about this already. And
well, we would hope they had thought about this already.
Yeah.
We don't assume anything.
Yes.
If I have my Vita in another room, we're playing PlayStation. I can play PlayStation 4.
All right, yeah.
Juan has a Vita. Can he play PlayStation 4 as well?
I believe, that's kind of like a big question, because I believe it might have something to do with like maybe connecting like your profiles, if your profile is able to connect with that same game, or...
Well, no, what I'm asking does the Vita TV, is it the router for these being used as controllers outside of said environments? And what are the implications of that being able to happen? Because you just don't have a controller anymore. You basically have another system receiving and feeding a system.
I understand.
Yeah, like there's a lot more tech-wise behind it that could be done.
Yeah.
That capability's there. What if you could use the Vita processing side of it to do something also?
Yeah. I want to say it's not necessarily like a router. It's more of like almost like a mini system in its own way, because it's going to be able to play like Vita games as well as like like older games as well. So.
And they haven't.
No. What I'm saying is, this is basically routing the PlayStation signal. This is really, really meta, and I apologize for all this. But it's basically the PlayStation 4 sending the signal via a wireless network, because you have to be on the same wireless network for the Vita TV to work.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
So it's sending the wireless signal of the video game display, basically, via HDMI over the air to the Vita TV system.
Okay.
Your Vita is acting as the controller and nothing more.
Yes.
Right.
What if it could be more?
Yeah. I mean,
allow for a second player to play, or up to 4 people, depending. Because four players has generally been the accepted.
Yes.
Playing in the same place sort of thing. 8, technically,
Depending
depending on
the game.
yeah.
But 4 being the general. If 4 people had 4 Vitas playing one PlayStation Vita TV system, is that possible? And if it is, what does that mean for the technology for the future? Because what if that Vita could be a second screen?
I mean, based on what I've read here from like the article that we pulled this up from, I mean, like it seems like it should be possible. We just don't know so much about it yet because, as far as we know, this is only coming to Japan, and people kind of speculate well, of course, it's coming to the U.S. as well. I think with Japan, it's kind of like a testing ground, like to see how well it does, and then they might expand it out worldwide after that.
See, that makes sense. That does make sense.
And most Sony products, honestly get released to Japan before they really hit America anyways. It's like they're the first ones to really get a hold of.
Except!
It was a great segue, except for the PlayStation 4, oddly enough. Because like along with that announcement of the Vita TV, there was also the announcement here that the PlayStation 4 is coming out on February 22nd of 2014, whereas it's coming out in November 15th here in the States. So,
yeah,
3 months.
Yeah, and like considering that Sony is a Japanese company,
I mean, it's like, I'm not saying like Christmas or whatever, but Christmas, like you missed it altogether. Like.
I mean, it's not like the Japanese don't celebrate Christmas. I mean,
may or may not. I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't assume that I know that much about the Japanese people. You may or may not celebrate Christmas. If you do, let us know in the comments below.
I believe, well, as far as I remember, I believe the Japanese celebrate Christmas, but not to the same extent that we do. Like, they love the decoration aspect of it, but it's treated more like Valentine's Day in a way, like where people like, they like it for another reason.
Dude out there somewhere would want to receive a Valentine's Day present of a PlayStation, which is maybe why they're releasing it that early in February. Continue, Dave.
Maybe, yes. But, yeah, I mean, like, it's just kind of curious. Like, I'm not sure why they have it come out later. Like, there wasn't really any explanation as far as like why they have it coming out basically 4 months or 4 or 3 months after.
The U.S. is a hard market to break in. You just got to know that, and you want to be first. You want to be the best. So maybe they're allocating all of their sales directly to North America for this timeline until after the Christmas season is over, and then they produce for Japan, which I mean makes sense business wise.
Yeah. As well as Europe too, and like I think because like those markets, like the North America and Europe markets are more prone to pick up on like a new console like this, whereas like I think in Japan, I think the handheld market is stronger over there rather than getting a full blown new console. I think that might be part of the strategy with that, but it's still kind of a curious decision regardless.
Date than it is location.
Yeah,
I think it's more date oriented than it is location. People want this to come out, and I don't know why. Don't buy a console at launch, people. Just don't do it. Trust me, we've all been through it enough. It's gonna die. It's gonna die. You want like the 3rd version that they can come out with, because that one's built to last. Because people have gotten pissed off enough to know they're not gonna buy your crappy product. So.
There was a PSA by Ross, right? The more you know.
That's general tech product business anyway. Never buy the first run of anything. Because they're still working out the bugs. Because you haven't seen it in mass distribution yet.
Unless you're buying it for novelty. Then that is acceptable.
Or for resale. If you're buying it for resale, then that's a completely different story.
Yes.
If you're buying it to own it, buying it first round is a mistake, period.
I mean, that's not stopping me from getting the PS4 online. And like I know all about the perils of getting like a system like right on launch and everything. Like I've seen it like enough times, and I don't know why for some reason with like the PS4 I wanted to get like a launch like just I guess there's like a first time for everything I guess in that sense. So
We say that PS4 isn't going to just hit a better audience this time around as far as, when the PS3 did.
Yeah.
Launch date goes, because
I mean, the launch date is competitive. There's no doubt about that. They have because we know the Wii U's not selling. I mean, we know that. That's not a surprise. No. We know that along with the first news, that kind of thing, Sony's really trying to get a foothold into this generation, both on the console side and the handheld side.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that it's priced to move. You've got a great product. They can sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be like a focus too, on trying to get that North American market too, considering that the Xbox 360, more or less, I mean,
dominated the North American market.
Yeah. I mean, the Xbox 360 more or less won this past generation. So I think they're trying to get trying to get that focus in, to make sure the PS4 is the number one console for next gen.
If you can ever gain a hold, you'll be fine that length of the system. The Wii did great, even though it was a terrible system generally. Sorry, Nintendo fans, it's the truth.
Do you think that they will sell more Vitas because of this?
It would make me more inclined to pick up a Vita if Vita TV is offered in the United States. It would make me... I'm already going to get a PlayStation 4. That's going to happen. Okay. But I'm not going to get one at launch. I'll probably get one about a year after launch because all the bugs have been worked out. We know what we're dealing with now. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not to mention, when I sign onto a system, here's another thing. I like the Netflix approach to gaming, whereas I want to ingest all that I possibly can in the shortest period of time before I have to wait for the next big release.
Gotcha.
I want to play through everything I can all at one time.
Okay.
So me personally, I'm going to wait a year.
Yeah. Whereas I'm different because I'm more into playing a lot of the older games as opposed to newer ones. So if they have some type of thing where I can do that, I'm already going to jump on it, especially if it applies to the Vita.
That's what I was going to say. But would the Vita convince you to buy a PlayStation 4 sooner in your console cycle?
Probably.
Because of this interconnectivity.
Probably. I mean, if that's the case, if it's that much better from what they're saying as far as owning a Vita and then getting it, I would love to have both.
Yeah, I mean, especially since they're trying to make it so that it's almost similar to the Wii U gamepad in the sense where you can play PlayStation 4 games on the Vita. Eventually it's going to get to that to that point. That's where Sony wants to be as far as the connectivity between the Vita PS4. So there would be that extra incentive, and I myself might actually feel getting one maybe down the road for that.
Right, and that's one of those things. I think now. It's simple technological limitations. It's not vision limitations. It's technological limitations. I mean, that's a lot of signal. That's a lot of bandwidth. That's a lot of information to be transferring over a wireless signal. Let's hope we can get there.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But at the same time, you got to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, with doing something like this, I think there's going to be a lot of bugs. Especially like you said, there's probably going to be a lot of bugs worked out with this. And I'm sure there'll be some complaints, stuff like that.
But it leads to something for the future.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. It leads to better connectivity in the future. It leads to more options.
Yeah.
It leads to your systems delivering to you what you want the way you want.
Yeah, and waiting's not a bad idea. Because the Vita's been out already, and I haven't purchased one. But it's waiting's good because then now I get to see a lot of what people like about it. Yeah. I get to see what I would like about it, and that will in turn allow me to make a better conscious-minded purchase for this particular thing, especially for the PS4.
A more justifiable.
Yeah, thank you.
Especially since the current consoles now, they still have a lot of good games out. They still have good games coming out for them as well. So there's that aspect of it, and also as far as any sort of bugs that may be coming in for the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One in this case. Hopefully nothing as bad as, say, the Red Ring of Death, but...
That's the thing. It always happens.
Mm-hmm.
It always happens.
Yeah.
It's just the degree and the manner it happens. Yeah. If you remember, the PlayStation 2 had the problem where the laser eye would get off-center. Now, it only took about $5 to fix if you knew what you were doing. But if you didn't know what you were doing, you're going to be out another $300 like that.
Yeah, anytime you build new technology or have new technology, you're always going to run.
Going out in that mass with that number to that type of people, you know, that kind of thing, things are going to break.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I advise buying the second run.
So, I mean, we hit the high points of that, right? There wasn't anything else to really talk about with
No,
it.
I mean, we literally covered everything that could be covered.
Okay.
There's nothing else in there that could be covered.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure we said everything that important there was.
No, there's nothing else important.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, unless you're talking about, like, the new, like, Vita models, but,
Okay.
you know, that's nothing really...
Matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It comes in pink.
See?
They
that
said
was
6 new colors.
No,
That thing
that
said
was
6
my
new
that was my argument between the PlayStation and the PS1 thing earlier. Yeah. Now, take it. Exactly. Thank you. But it's a whole new Vita, Quan.
Hey, they just call it the...
It's a slightly different size, but it comes in new colors. It's like the new Malibu Stacy on, like, in, like, The Simpsons. Like, it's got a new hat. I want it.